Hi,
Hey,
Mike.
Sandra.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Nice hair.
Thank you. You too. Um, Last time we talked, you told me a lot about Memrise's new word lists, and I heard that there were lots of people asking about them and wanting some follow-up. And alongside them, I'm just wondering, once I've picked one of the new shiny Memrise word lists, what happens then? How do I learn those words? Will anything change from how Memrise currently works?
Absolutely. So once you've picked your word list, and that word list will contain all of the words and all of the phrases that you'll need to achieve your goal that the word list sets out to help you achieve. For example, traveling. The traveling word list will contain most of the vocab you'll need to travel successfully. And then you've got to learn to you've got to learn those words. You've got to learn to recognize those words when they're said in context by a native speaker. You've got to learn how to pronounce those words, how to form sentences with those words, how to have conversations with those words. So in order to help users achieve that, we've come up with a new structure of delivering sort of the learning features that Memrise provides. They're called My Lessons. And the vast majority of the experience that anybody will have with Memrise will be going through the lessons that Memrise has put together for users based on the words that they have selected, based on the words they're learning, and helping them not only learn the words but also hear them in context and to use them in conversation, saying them out loud.
So how did you come up with the idea for My Lessons? Because it makes me think of, if I am going to school or maybe picking up another app, a lesson will be roughly the words that some words, but they're teaching me like grammar or how to put together sentences, or that's roughly how you have a lesson in school. So is that how Memrise is doing it, or how did you come up with it?
Absolutely. So there are the two incredibly important aspects to how we came up with My Lessons and why it exists, why it will exist in the upcoming release. The first point is really to do with how people learn to speak another language, actually successfully learn to speak another language. And that is not only that they learn the words, they learn the meaning, just like every other flashcard app, but they also learn to recognize those words said out loud by native speakers, not only on their own, but in the context of a full sentence, in the context of a conversation. Then also, how do you say those words out loud? Because we all have experienced the deer in the headlights moment of you try to say something in a new language and you feel anxious, you can't find those words. And that is fundamentally because of a lack of practicing saying those words out loud in sentences individually in the form of a conversation. And so what My Lessons is designed to do is to take all of the functionality that is needed to get a user of varying skill levels to not only recognize the words, learn them in the flashcard sense, but also hear them said in context, recognize them said in context, like you would in a busy metro station when you're ordering tickets, not in a slow and very clinical condition, or slow in clinical conditions like you'd hear in a conventional app or in a classroom even, but in the messy, wonderful, real life scenarios that you'll actually be using the language in. And then you've got to actually pronounce those words and learn to string sentences together. And so My Lessons really is a combination of lots of different exercises that will be helping users do those three things fundamentally.
Okay.
Learn the meaning of those words, understand them when they're said in context, and be able to communicate with them.
So does that mean that if I do one lesson, it'll have all of those types of exercises mixed, or is there a structure of, like, if I had a notebook and in one I practice grammar and another one I write down translations or something like that?
That's a great question, and actually the sort of informs the second point of why my lessons, which is we've heard from hundreds of users that we've spoken to that the single most important thing that determines whether they stick with learning a language or they give up and then feel frustrated and then find for another solution is simply whether there's a lot of variety and whether it's enjoyable. And so my lessons is designed to provide these relatively small chunks of really varied exercises, from pronouncing words, building sentences, watching videos, or that you can fit in a whole bunch of them, a whole wonderful variety of features that are designed to be quite entertaining, not only informative, but you can fit in quite a few of these into just like an average 15-minute session. So there'll be a lot of variety, and we hope a lot of enjoyment within any one session that someone uses Memrise for.
So as a Memrise user, I know that there's been the learning sessions where we have the flashcards and you see some native speaker videos, and then now there's been the buddies, and the buddies for grammar, and one is for sentence building. If I go to my lessons, will I then be able to pick what I want to do, pick and choose my own lesson structure, or is that something that Memrise does for me?
So we will, based on your skill level and based on the word lists that you've picked, we will have put together a plan of lessons, a continuum of lessons that we believe is ideally suited for your level to get you to speak and understand as quickly as possible. So you'll see a variety in there of learning exercises. Beginner users will probably see more learning exercises, more vocab drills, and more pronunciation of individual words. And the more advanced users will see more building of sentences, more grammar exercises, more conversation practice fundamentally. Of course, you can skip each lesson that is put forward to you, but fundamentally the structure is designed to get people, regardless of their skill level, being able to communicate, to be understood, and to understand what is when people talk to them.
Okay, so I pick a word list, and then my words are put into a series of lessons where Memrise combines all different kinds of activities according to my skill level to make sure that I am recognizing those words, that I can understand them when native speakers say them, that I can speak it back to them the way that they do, like practicing conversation. Is there anything else that my lessons does or how it works that you'd like to share with us?
I think you've nailed it there. It's a simple concept that fundamentally to learn to speak another language, to communicate, you've got to pick the words that you're going to use. That's what the word lists are for. And then you've got to learn those words to be able to understand them and communicate with them. And that's the part that my lessons does. And as I said before, there'll be a whole bunch of different exercises of learning and reviewing. Of Memrise users who've been with us for years will recognize the speed reviews, the classic reviews, the difficult word reviews. All of those will still be kept within my lessons, and then in addition we'll be overlaying pronunciation mode to help you pronounce and give you feedback on the pronunciation of individual words. We'll be showing you shorter and longer videos of those words said in contexts. Mm-hmm. We'll be helping you build sentences, so applying some of the grammatical rules to using those words in full sentences, and then for more advanced users, actual conversational practice too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds pretty exciting, particularly if I'm a user that just wants someone to guide me a little bit. Like you said, I can maybe skip some lessons, but maybe next time you can tell us more about each of the different exercises that composes my lessons, and see if I want to do more of them, can I just do more of them? Or
yeah, absolutely. So each of the exercises in my lessons has a beginning and an end. For example, pronunciation mode will give you 5 words to pronounce and give you feedback on those, and then you'll move on to the next lesson. If, for example, you want to actually just focus on pronouncing lots of different words, so you have 100 words you want to learn the pronunciation on and really perfect them, you can absolutely navigate to the buddies tab, where you will find the pronunciation buddy, and you can just keep drilling pronunciation with that buddy. Same goes for sentence builder. If you're really trying to practice your grammatical structure, applying what we know about grammar to building sentences, you can do that for 3 sentences in my lessons before moving on to the next one. But if all you want to do is practice your lesson, your sentence structures and applying the grammatical rules, then you can do that as much as you like through the buddies tab with sentence builder.
Awesome. Well, let's see what our users think, and if they have a lot more questions for you about this. But so we're expecting to see this soon in the app.
Absolutely. So this will be part of the latest release. We'll start rolling it out in July. So people who refresh their app or download it in July will be able to see this feature. And yeah, we're super interested to see how well it's received. We think it encompasses all of the elements you need to learn a new language. In fact, we're pretty sure of it. If you follow your lesson plan that Memrise provides and just go through each of the exercises, you'll no doubt be making progress in terms of your ability to speak and converse in another language. There'll be lots of ways that you can jump off and practice with certain features in more depth if you want to do that as well. But we'd love to hear your comments and questions you have. Please ask them in the blog below, in the blog comment section below.
Oh, that's a pretty nice wrap up there. Thanks, Martin.
Cheers, Sandra. Nice hair.